Hey everyone, it's your host Adi and welcome back to Comic Space, and this is Marvel in 2025. We are going to be talking about every film and TV show that took place in the Marvel multiverse this year and how that will affect the upcoming cinematic event that is going to be Avengers Doomsday. The countdown already has begun. We even have the first look at Doomsday, but today we are going to be doing a recap of 2025 of Marvel Multiverse. However, we are not going to be including animated projects such as Friendly Neighbor Spider-Man, Marvel Zombies or Rise of Wakanda, which is technically part of the main continuity but not in the present time, and I don't think so a lot of it is actually going to be affecting Doomsday or Secret Wars moving forward. So first thing first, we are going to be talking about Captain America Brave New World. In major film as Sam Wilson steps up as Captain America going up against Red Hulk and the leader Samuel Stearns. But the major thing this film does is introduce adamantium to the MCU, of course setting up the introduction of the mutants and X-Men in the 616 continuity. Of course, the icons from the original X-Men trilogy are going to be returning as a part of Avengers Doomsday, maybe even Secret Wars. But after all of that, Marvel will have to introduce their own X-Men, their own mutants in the main 616 continuity, which we think Sadie Sink is probably going to be one of those mutants, possibly Jean Grey, but that's a different discussion that we can have another day. But again, of course, Marvel definitely have started to introduce some major story traits to introduce X-Men and mutants in the future for sure. Another the major note that film ends on is the Sam reforming the Avengers, which is very clear that his next step is going to be getting the band back together, but the band is going to have some new members in it, and which we would later know Marvel was planning to use that story thread into Thunderbolts, aka the New Avengers, as it will set up the conflict between Sam's The Avengers and the New Avengers. So I think that is also going to be one of the main story thread that Doomsday is going to be picking up. Not much, I think it's just going to be a much of a subplot that might be further explored in the future, because Doomsday looks to be very confined story and very grounded in Dr. Doom, Steve Rogers and of course Thor. So they're definitely focusing that story, but that's definitely a major story thread. So let's talk about the Thunderbolts, I mean the New Avengers. Thunderbolt introduces Sentry, one of the most powerful characters in the Marvel comics, but his use of powers is very limited because as he becomes Sentry, there's also an other side of that character, and that is the Void, because Sentry still cannot become Sentry unless he have that other side. So I think that is quite a major thing that Doomsday is definitely going to explore. I think Sentry's role is going to be pretty much minimal, as it seems as the powered Sentry. I think Bob Reynolds is probably going to be hanging around a lot, as he also did in the Thunderbolts. He's probably just gonna pick up another book and just read it, but the post-credit scene of the Thunderbolts was a major cliffhanger for sure, and major story thread that was actually directed by the Russo brothers. The post-credit scene of the Thunderbolts introduces Fantastic Four entering into our main continuity, and that was in question. That was an answer in the Fantastic Four First Steps film at all, because they did not cross over into our main continuity. The Galactus thing was sorted out, so whenever that post-credit scene takes place, it takes place after the Fantastic Four First Steps. It is their ship, but it is very different from the one we seen in the film. But again, we are still very much unsure that in that ship is actually the Fantastic Four. It can be anyone else, or if all the members are in there, or just one, it just might be Harvey looking out to get some help from 616. Of course, from the Avengers, it depends on which Avengers he might run up to. So those are the two major story threads that are going to be falling up into Avengers Doomsday for sure, and that leads to Fantastic Four First Steps. Fantastic Four takes place in a complete different universe. It is not an origin story, as Fantastic Four are already well established heroes in the universe. Of course, the first major thread is the Galactus. And I think one of the great things that Marvel did, they did not erase Galactus completely from the story. Galactus still is part of the story. So as Silver Surfer, so they probably are hoping to bring those characters back into the Marvel multiverse, or even 616. I'm not sure about if Galactus is going to be part of Doomsday or Secret Wars, but that is definitely a thing that Galactus can be back, even if it's going to be in Fantastic Four sequel, or even if it's going to be for Doomsday or Secret Wars. And of course, the introduction of Franklin Richards in this film. Power sets are very much clear. Franklin is at the moment one of the biggest characters in the Marvel multiverse. So both the post-credit scenes of Thunderbolt and Fantastic Four First Steps were directed by Russo brothers. So of course these two story threads are going to be very much important leading up to that story. So of course those are the two post-credit scenes that are going to be very important to the story of Avengers Doomsday. Another post-credit I would like to mention, and that is of the Marvels. We really haven't heard much of that or where that story is going to be leading up, but the Marvels post-credit scene was a major introduction of the X-Men. Of course these two post-credit scenes, because those were directed by Russo brothers, and of course the Marvels post-credit scene. I think these are the three major story threads that are going to be coming back together, as Avengers Doomsday is also going to be in very much of an origin story. So I think they're probably going to begin the story with the origin of Doctor Doom, his proper introduction, and then we will dive into the other stuff that already has been set up. And now moving on to the TV series or Disney Plus stuff, Born Again. How much of that will be playing any part in Doomsday or in Secret Wars? I think maybe Secret Wars, because then that's in sort of a golden ticket, because you can do a lot of with the battle world and bring a lot of these characters into the play. What Born Again has done, the first season of Born Again, is that Frank Castle will be bridging Born Again and Spider-Man Brand New Day. Marvel is definitely looking forward to work with John Bernthal throughout multiple projects, as Frank is set to appear in the Brand New Day with John Bernthal, Tom Holland, Sadie Sink, Justin Daniel Cretton is going to be directing. So again, that is going to be a major film. In addition to Frank Castle appearing in Spider-Man Brand New Day, he's also going to be having a special presentation. He might also appear in Born Again Season 2. So I think one of the major things that Born Again did was to set up Frank Castle on his own path and definitely giving him his own story to be explored in his special presentation. And another thing, there has been a lot of speculation. Will Vincent D'Onofrio appear as Kingpin in the Brand New Day? But as we have heard that there is some rights things that is going on that restricts Kingpin from appearing from the Spider-Man movies. But again, I think if Marvel and Sony both were eager to have Kingpin in such a major film, which is already a major story, I think they definitely would have figured it out. But they're definitely leaving Kingpin out of that story right now as of the moment. Maybe going down in further where they get much more grounded approach after Doomsday and Secret Wars and all the multiversal chaos that is going to be going on. And of course Spidey was also referenced in Born Again Season 1 by Kingpin. So of course there's a thread, there's a much more awareness that all of these characters are very much connected for sure. Then we have Ironheart. So I don't know how much of Ironheart is going to be playing any part in Doomsday. Like I said, Secret Wars, because that's your kind of a golden ticket. Once the battle world is introduced, you can bring a lot of these characters, variant of all of these characters into the play, and that would be an awesome, because a lot of the rumors has it the Young Avengers are probably not going to be part of Doomsday. But Secret Wars, I think Doomsday is pretty much going to be heavily focused on the X-Men and the Avengers. The number one priority is of course Doctor Doom and his proper introduction. Saying it again, it's your playground, you can do it. You can bring a lot of these characters into the play, and of course they're not going to be playing that much of a major role, but as a cameo you can definitely bring Ironheart. So the third live action series, which was supposed to be coming out this year but has been delayed to the January of next year, and that is the Wonder Man series, which I think probably can be connecting to the upcoming Vision Quest series that we are going to be getting. Of course, we have left out Marvel Zombies, Friendly Neighbor Spider-Man, and Eyes of Wakanda, which I said it does take place in our main 616 continuity, but not in the present time, and I don't think so. A lot of those animated projects are going to be affecting what is going to happen with Avengers Doomsday. What If perhaps, but that was way back when. What If is, I think, one of the only titles that could actually come into play in Avengers Doomsday or the Secret Wars. Watcher can be coming back, Captain Carter can be coming back. So I think that is in one animated project that can have a major impact when it comes to Doomsday or Secret Wars or any of this multiverse stuff. So I think it's time to wrap this one out. This is your host Adi signing off. See you in the next one.